Chris and I just ran the very first returning rider for 2021 up here in Everett, and there are some lessons we had from today. A lot of the activities, we just kind of switched the order on it, but the two that were uniquely changed were the vision and the braking.
Yes.
And Chris, we got to experiment a lot.
We did. We rolled the dice there. We really did.
Yeah, we had a whole ton of guys in the figure eight.
This skill is critical for decreasing hazard perception time to take action before the hazard becomes an emergency. Home position also corrects the most common vision errors in common crashing. All right, so let's think about this. This is how it's going to work for you. You have a start point right here for you. What you're going to do is you're going to take off. We have two figure of eights out, one this side, one this side. All right, what's going to happen is this. You can go left or right, alternate each time. It's up to you, right? We want you riding the circles. We want you going around in both directions. Start point right here. As you can see, we have Brent standing right there. We have two big cones. Just after the two big cones, we have a dot of little cones. That's our curve, all right? So we go in between the two big cones, we follow the curve, we come across to the next set of big cones. Obviously now we're doing a figure of eight, so we're going to be going to the left now around those little cones that you see there, all right? Then you'll ride diagonally again off to the big cones, going through on the curve. When you come back to these cones again, the second set of big cones, when you come back to those cones again, you will exit the figure of eight and come back to the start point here in the middle.
What were some of the takeaways on the new layout and the new activity?
I think what it did was it actually forced the riders to really get that home position in earlier, because they knew there was going to be some interaction, all right? So it didn't just let them drop their eyes down on the path of travel. They knew something was coming, so they had to look further out. It forced them to plan ahead, which I think dialed in their vision a little earlier.
And that's what we were brainstorming this and going, how do we make this more efficient? We do the vision, we're around in the circles, and that's great, but how do you make it more real? Since that's the whole idea behind the returning rider and the LTR. The lesson I had today was, one, you often will go crazy when I let you. I'm like, all right, let's see how many people will go in it. And he just shoves like all the riders into a 60-foot. We had the 100-foot center, 60-foot arcs, and he had like 12 riders in there, which worked. but we played around a lot with the numbers, and it seemed to work out really well. 40-foot circles, correct. 4 riders, 50-foot circles, 5 riders, 60-foot circles, 6 riders. That seemed to be the magic number. The other thing that I learned on this one was, first, path of travel. First time out, just let them find the path of travel, and then we move on.
Agreed.
But also, I love the center feed, because on the cards, I always do the same thing. Right? I assume it's a one instructor, smallest range you have. That's the picture they get.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
And so they see the one figure eight, and we had two, and we ended up doing an inside feed on both figure eights, and they just went from the right to one and then to the left, and we had an 80-foot or a 40-foot arc in the 60s.
And the timing worked out perfect in the end, because literally, if you timed it, when you send the 6 off to one side and you 4 to the other side, literally as they exit, the guys that are waiting, the last rider in is really the first guy out rider is the last guy going out. So there was no waiting time. You just got them out on that side and got them out on that side, and so many repetitions, which we know is key.
Well,
we know is key.
And this is a beautiful range. This has so much size that we were able, or so much extra runoff, that we were able to have a 60-foot, so maximum, and we were have the minimum, the 40, and
it was.
With a full class, there was just no waiting whatsoever. But also, this really proved, I think, if we're on an MSF size range, we're really limited, because the smallest one fits on the inside. You can really put the figure eights on the far reaches and do a center feed, and everybody's going to be moving.
So you could definitely get a little creative with how you would lay your two figure eights out, and it's very important. I feel it's very important that the instructor is very aware and present when it comes to the timing of sending the riders. You can't step back and focus on the coaching techniques. You've got to allow the riders to self-develop.
Well, the first time
while
out, for
the other instructor's watching, all right, without a doubt. So it's very important you have that traffic control guy, all right, and at the same time your colleague is working close with observing the riders that are having somewhat of a challenge. Let's talk a little bit about the mid-demo briefing. I want to talk more about that. Let's focus on that. What was your focus on that? Because again, discovery, first time trying it.
Well, and I really think, because home position, we introduced that earlier on if we have the opportunity, but this really gave them the chance to watch them ride the 8 and watch the interaction or the close interactions and go, all right, what are they doing wrong? And of course, we know they're not looking. And being able to get off of the bikes and do an activity where we all stood and walked the path, at least on one half, where they could really turn their eyes and focus all the way through, and we could emphasize what they should be doing. But also, we gave them a heads up. And that's what we did this time. Is we had a couple of riders the first time out just to figure out path of travel, like instructor position, traffic flow.
Yep.
And the second time out, we told them, we're going to put more of you out there, and you guys are going to have to be looking, and I think it really worked.
It did really work. And I think the non-movement static placement of the key points of looking into the turn, looking out of the turn, focusing on the home position all the way through, and moving far enough out to trust that, allow that peripheral vision to start picking up your spacing in the road, and picking up other road users. I think that really gave them a really good solid foundation.
And you did a really nice thing on this one. What you do is you talk about tracking where they are on the road and using that peripheral to track the road. And I played off of that, and that worked out really well, because as we went and we were walking through the corner, and what I did is I told them, when you enter the corner, as you're entering or coming to that entry gate, that your home position's at the exit.
Right.
That makes perfect sense. As soon as you pass that threshold, it needs to be to the crossover, and by the time you're halfway through, it should be all the way through. But building on your peripheral, the idea that, they should be far enough out to track where the corner is, but also that they should be tracking the crossover traffic with peripheral. And we don't get to do that with the old layout.
Right. And what I liked was the comments after, with the questions. I don't think I've ever seen such interaction to the specific point of the vision skill so early on, because I think we gave them more opportunity. We gave them more opportunity to self-develop, and therefore the briefing questions were easy. I've never done a debrief like that before, where I didn't have to follow up with an additional question because I was getting crickets. There was no crickets now, so I like that activity.
Well, and there were no lines. I love there was no by the first part a little bit. The second part, there was just no lines, and that was with a 40 and a 60. Right. So even if we had two 40s, which means you probably don't have 16 riders, you're still going to be almost nobody sitting in line, or they're just pausing at the line, which is huge.
What I love about this is, it's development. It's moving forward. We're trying to move the needle here. We're trying to embrace, the challenges the riders have. Not just on the road with the new endorsement process here in Washington, but what I like now is that we're going to develop the instructors, we're going to develop the students, and we will make our roads safer.
And one of the things that drove us to make this adjustment for the 2021 curricula was Chris was running one extra practice after the class was over, because on the test, the endorsement test, people are just lost path of travel, and I'm sure anybody, you've probably all seen it, that guy that does the oval or just can't figure out how to do a silly crossover. And this means we had two activities where they got to see the same path of travel.
Pretty much an hour.
Because we did this one, but also our stop and a curve now is also the same figure 8 path of travel.
Yeah, it went really well. I'm pleased with it. First time out.
It'd be fun to see how they go on the test, because this kind of changes it. And you've also, Chris was doing 60 foot. He got to play with this before this weekend, a couple elements of this new curricula.
Correct.
And he had a single 60 foot figure 8. How did that compare to doing what we did today?
We had a nice variation of changing the speed today, because when as you know, when you've got a tighter radius, you've got to give up speed. And so when we played with the 40 and the 60 today, the variance of it gave them a better understanding their speed, and the lean angle has to be very, very to the right. Reality like the real road, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for. We're trying to create the most safe and effective and efficient environment here, and trying to make it as much as we can with the road. Apart from hiring a bunch of crazy people with cars.
And I love the variation.
This works.
Yeah, I love it. I kind of encourage people to do varied sizes of the circles in the old RR. And having the two different sizes, I think, really helps make it more realistic. It makes it fun. The students or the riders have different challenges and different interactions. So definitely. Now, the question I haven't been able to ask you yet is, we just did the stopping in a curve.
Yes.
And I kind of wandered off, so I only saw it from a distance. How'd that go? And what do you recommend? What were your lessons, your takeaways from that activity?
My takeaway from that was they found the path of travel very easy, because they'd already done it a lot in the cornering, right, going through the vision activity. The other part that I found was that they were very cognitive of each other. They knew exactly where the riders were at all times. They were scanning so early, and they were being so polite. you know. And the other thing is because they knew now to look all the way through that home position, they trusted where that rider was at the stop point with that peripheral vision. And now I want to celebrate, because we know we see a lot of riders get in trouble with
Now,
that.
we also tried one more new thing on this one.
We did.
And when we were talking about the NHTSA standards and what's required for the class,
Yes.
we have to stop at a curve, and
Good.
we need to show them how to square and stop. And we eliminated the stopping on command.
Yes.
During this activity.
Yes.
You covered it in the lecture
Right.
portion of the classroom, so they got the information but not hands-on. Was it a loss? Should we bring it back? Should we leave it out?
No, I think it was more efficient. I think it really was. It gave them more focus on where they should be looking as opposed to looking where the coaching position is. So I actually liked it a lot more. It allowed them to focus on their vision, their path of travel, and no one was twitching and getting nervous while trying to watch an instructor. So I actually felt that was better. I really did. I don't think we're wasting their time.
Perfect. All right. Now, one other thing I have to ask you, because there's only a few instructors who have had a chance to do this. We've moved forward 2 activities that used to be farther off in the curriculum. So
Correct.
now we do a warm up. Our evaluation activity is the inline weave, turn from a stop, U-turn activity.
Correct.
And then right after that, we do evasive maneuvers. And we did that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
You've done it a couple times now.
Yeah, magic. Don't have any problems with it at all. In fact, if anything, it actually gets the flow of the class going quicker, which I like. You know what I mean? Because it gives you a better opportunity to step back and observe, because you're already pretty much set for 2. You know what I mean? So I feel it's better. I think they get quicker to the objectives that are actually going to set them up for success. I like it. So the screening activity, it works. It's a little quicker. You know what I mean? And more importantly, they're riding on what they need to learn in order to set them up for success a lot quicker. I like that. It's kind of like using a quick pass when you're at the airport. Get straight down there and get to what you need, all right? I like that. It was really good. It was very beneficial.
Anything else the instructors ought to know? It's your guys, my guys, everybody else's guys, Kemper's guys, it's
Absolutely.
everybody's. Any tips?
Yeah, manage the range by doing this. Trust your students, all right? Communicate better. If you can communicate better what is going to happen, and then just give them the opportunity and manage them visually, which means don't yell at them and stand in the right positions, pre-stand where you think you're going to see the challenges, get that traffic control going on, step away and let them ride. This format works. It works really well.
My tip, my takeaway is when I put this together, when I lay it out and practice it, it's never the same as when I put real students on it.
Right.
Don't come out and try to figure out how to lay it out your very first class. No. Go out and do a couple of practice sets. Please. Because as soon as your riders get on there, it adds that extra challenge as an instructor. So my tip to you guys is it's the same material that we're teaching, but the layout makes it feel very different. So make sure you go practice this, study your cards, and read through that material, because there are some changes on the language and the wording and some slight adjustments to the objectives as well.
You know what's interesting here? They're riders. Maybe they should go ride it.
Not a bad idea.
Let's get back to work.
Excellent.
I like it. That's cool. All right, let's go. Bret, set up. In perfect corner. I love it. Hey guys, come on over here. Come on down.